I'm excited to welcome you all to our 12th TLA Prep session. Let me actually pull this, expand this a little bit here. Our 12th TLA Prep. Man, it's been an entire semester. We only have one or two more weekly preps left from now until the end of the year, and you guys have made it through the first real session of TLA. So congratulations to everybody that is here. I want to welcome you all. Quick tidbit, I'll share with you all a little bit. This past week, I got a chance to do my 2020 planning retreat, and there's been some of you all in the division that have already started this process. And you can access this blueprint on ace2020blueprint.com, but it's free to you. It's a free gift for all of you all. And really the premise of the exercise, like I really think it's valuable to take some time to do this. Even if you don't do this whole exercise, just taking a little bit of time, even if it's like 2 hours at one point now until like the middle of January, just to do some reflection on the past year, do some vision casting for next year, and then actually do some like planning and actually ground that into something that's tangible for yourself going into the new year. I can't tell you how valuable this exercise has been for me. The positive feedback that I've gotten from other people have taken time to go through it. And it's not like the exercise is just amazing. It's just more so the value of actually taking time to reflect on the last year, really let it soak in. What were your takeaways from that year? What were the lessons that were learned? And make sure you're anchoring them in vision cast. And like, you know, I talk about this all the time, but making sure that you're going into 2021 operating from a place of vision and not from circumstance. You know, not operating from, hey, this is what happened to me. This is what is going on in the world. So this is how I'm going to respond. I'm going to do this because of all the stuff that's going around me, but rather leading from vision. And by the way, that's what a leader is. The rest of the world follows circumstances. Leaders are people that aren't really, not that they don't care or they're not aware of the circumstances, but it's not really affecting their decisions as much as it's affecting people that are followers, because the leader is connected towards something bigger. The leader is connected towards a vision, and the job of a leader is to help connect others towards that vision. And that's really what leaders do. So if you want to be a leader next year, as we are the Leadership Academy, definitely get connected to vision can be an important element of that. And then actually taking some time to do some planning. And we've been talking about planning all year round in TLA. So I definitely think it's a valuable thing for you to spend a little bit of time in going into through the next year, you know. And it's also just good to have some real goals. I have an actual goal sheet, and just having some goals for yourself going into the new year. And everybody has goals. It's not really about like the attainment of the actual goals, but very oftentimes we have goals that we write down that are kind of like goals in our head, but we don't actually have a plan as to how we're going to get them. Like, this is going to be the year I'm going to get in shape. Great. Do you have like a plan on what's going to be different this year than last year when you said you were going to get in shape, right? Or this is the year where I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to fix my financial situation. Cool. Have you planned out the numbers of like how much Cutco do you need to sell? What do you need to get done? What do you need to do to actually create that income for yourself? And actually having a plan so you have some direction going into the new year. And everyone here, as a lot of you all know, plans don't always go to plan. Every single one of you all, if you're branching or a district next summer or an AM, you're going to have a business plan, okay? And you're going to make that business plan. You'll spend a couple hours working on it, and it'll be a really, really good plan, and 90% of it won't happen, okay? It will probably get changed, and some rocks will get thrown in the rudder, and that's, by the way, because no business plan ever works out exactly how the plan is. But it's still good to have a plan so you have some direction and something to kind of build off of. So that's my bidding to you all as we go into the end of the year. A couple quick things for today. We're going to walk a little bit through the calendar. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about social media D-Day setup and how to execute that. We have our social media D-Day coming up this Saturday. So I'll spend a little bit of time talking about that. We're going to spend probably 10 minutes debriefing what we've gone through so far in the 4 agreements, so we don't save it all for the last TLA prep. And then the last thing that we'll do is we'll do a little practice on some coaching calls and some business fundamentals for your drill for skill here for today. So first things first, let's do a quick little calendar review. We just finished Thanksgiving weekend, and now we are in the month of December. Okay. And what I'll tell you guys, even on the same notion of 2020 planning, look, I'm a big believer. Like, I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions. I don't really think they'd work. I don't think they're really real. You know, January 1st is just an arbitrary date that we made and that we created to signify the start of a new year, you know? So if you need like a new year date to start building the habits towards who you want to become, you're going to miss out. The reality is that if you actually want to start something January 1st, it takes 30 days at least to build a habit, So actually, like, really, if you want to start some New Year's resolutions, they better start in December. Same thing, by the way, with our business. December is the last month of the year, but it's really the momentum month for the first month of the year. It's the last month of the year. It's what we do to cap off the end of the year. But what you do in December is really determining the momentum that you have going into the beginning of the year. That's with your life personally, with school, with your business, and with Cutco too. So we're entering the last month of the year. So it's time to both finish strong and time to kind of buckle down and get some habits into place. For a lot of you all right now, like even some of you guys right now, as I'm speaking, your mind's in like exam and finals mode, and that's okay. Most of y'all will be out of that mode within a week or two coming out of here. But, the winter break is really an opportunity to work on some of your weaknesses and to play off your strengths, really get a good sense of where your training level is at. And there's a handful of you all, some of you guys know this about me too. When I was in TLA in the fall and spring, I really was the rep that kind of did the bare minimum. I didn't perform at a very high level for most of the pushes throughout the fall. I usually sold something. I told you, Oli and I always found a way to get like $2,000 or $2,500, but I was never like performing at a very high level. In fact, I've had conversations with some of you all that you're like, hey, Andrew, I hope my performance this fall around school hasn't affected your opinion of me. And I'm like, hey, it hasn't, because I've been a student too, and I know how I operated. But also what I did was I didn't do much in the fall and spring, but I freaking grinded during the summers and the winter break every year. Every year, it's like I wasn't the top performer. I wasn't the craziest. I wasn't really on top of my Cutco stuff at a high level during the fall and spring, but I went all out with Cutco in the summers and I went all out in the winter breaks. And I used that to make up for my lack of, consistency or performance in the fall and spring. So some of you all, like, you don't really need a makeup. Keep doing what you're doing. You've been rocking all fall. Some of you all, and you know this, you didn't really do much for SLC, you didn't really do much for Olean, you didn't really do much in between, and you haven't really done much up until this point. And that's okay, but it's not okay to do nothing in the fall, nothing over the winter break, and nothing again in the spring. If you're in that boat, cool. You're in a different situation than some people are, and winter break is your opportunity to actually get on the radar. If you're like, hey, I know I have a branch letter of intent in, but I don't have that much startup, and I haven't really performed, and I know my drill for skill or intangible grades aren't that high, cool, but I still want to run an office next summer. Awesome. This is the time to start making some moves. This is the time to start getting on the radar. You guys all know, for all of our BMCs and DMCs here, territory decisions are going to come out literally a month and a half from now. District manager territory decisions will be decided in probably 3 to 4 weeks, and branch manager territories will be announced the second week of January, and then official promotions for our branches and districts will happen the third week of January at our Vector Cutco Awards night on that third weekend in January. So there's a little bit of time and window to impact those results, to impact your territory decisions, to impact your opportunities for next summer and all of our AMCs. So if you're not, by the way, if you don't have a letter of intent in for a branch or district, at this point, it's probably a good time to start having a conversation with your manager about your vision for where you see yourself or what role you could be playing in the organization next summer. One thing I always see, again, if you've been through TLA through the fall and you were thinking about branching, but that's maybe not the path that you're on right now, that's totally cool. But it's also not you don't want to keep operating without any direction or any plan. You don't want to go, you'll get to a point where you're like, all right, Andrew, I'm hopping on all these TLA calls. It's great. I'm learning a ton, but also I don't even really know what I'm working towards. What am I doing this towards? So it'd be good to have a conversation with a manager or someone so that you have some sort of direction or vision that you're actively working towards. And for anyone that's, looking to be an assistant manager candidate for next summer, which I assume if you're in TLA and you're not in the branch or district track, then you're at least someone that's definitely being considered for that. We are going to give most of those applications for head or lead roles will go out in January. And decisions, some people will be promoted at BCAs as well for lead assistant manager roles through the summer. We'll have some part-time assistant manager applications that typically go out in March. So even if you're not being a branch or district, same goes out to you all. This is the opportunity that you have. And I actually put out a bounty to my team. I think Mike may or may not be doing something similar in the Tampa area, but I told my team that if they sell 10 grand over the break, over that 6-week period, or 10 grand in a combination of PRs, each for 1,000 credit, that if anyone does that, I would guarantee them a paid assistant manager role, in our office this upcoming summer. 10 grand over the break. By the way, assistant managers typically making at least 10 grand in income. Think about this, okay? 10 grand over the break in sales, that's 10 grand in income in minimum, you know, during the actual summertime. Mike's numbers might be a little bit higher. I might be lower in the, yeah, I might be low in the standards. 25K might be a better number. But, and I just want to share this with you guys is that, like, again, what are the objectives of the break? I'll come back to the calendar in a quick second. But, you know, outcomes of the break, like hit Puerto Rico, hit the trip, make some income for yourself. I'm pretty sure everyone here could use some more income, whether that's to boost up your savings. Some of you all actually, like, if you're a district, a DMC or a BMC, and you've got like 2K or less than startup, you need to make money for withholdings. Like, you need to put money in, and it's probably not going to happen in February and March, by the way. Okay. So you need to have some withholdings, or some people are just like, hey, you made a bunch of money last summer and you spent most of it this fall and you're going to want to spend more money again in the spring. So you might just need some money for personal savings, but make some income, hit Puerto Rico, get some training and preparation for next summer, and then also spend a little bit of time resting and rejuvenating. But there's a model, guys, where if you work hard and you get committed and you can get serious over the break, and literally a 3 to 4 week period while doing some enjoying time with family and friends and the holidays, you could hit a free trip, all expense paid trip to Puerto Rico, make $2,000 to $3,000 plus minimum in income, you know, lock in an assistant manager, or branch or district position for next summer, and set yourself up with some positive momentum going to the spring, just for working hard a couple weeks over the actual break. So going back to the calendar, we have our social media D-Day coming up this Saturday, which I'm going to come back to in a quick second. But then we have the push, which begins next Monday. So it's really only 5 or 6 days out. Now, a lot of you all are going to have exams still wrapping up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But keep in mind, this is a 3-week push. Okay, this is the longest push that we've ever done this year, period. Okay, and then there's not only a 3-week period, there's another 2-week period after that 3-week period. So it really is the longest push I've ever seen the company. We have our December 12th prep. And that will be just the same schedule that all of our preps have been this year, which is 10 to 2 on Friday. Sorry, 10 to 12 on Friday for NLG, and 10 to 2 on Saturday for general session TLA. Our book assignments will be due for both of those groups, good to great. And the 4 agreements will be due on those respective preps. And then coming out of this on Saturday, a lot of you all have already started the assistant manager PR process. If you haven't done that, you want to make sure your managers are on top of your list so you can actually get some friends set up so you can get some PR credit and hit the Puerto Rico trip. But coming out of that Saturday, we will have a 3-way texting session that will happen during TLA, where we'll put 3-way text with our managers. Anyone that we sent a message to and they just haven't responded yet, or they were interested, but we never scheduled them. Basically anyone that didn't tell us they weren't interested or we just haven't gotten a hold of, we'll put them in a 3-way text. And not everyone will respond, but we will get some positive responses from that. And those are people that we can get set up on Saturday and Sunday. That Sunday, December 13th, is the biggest PR set day. Every single person in the division should be looking at how to get to 10, 15 plus PR set on that day. And then 12, 14, that Monday, is the biggest recruiting day of the year before we enter into our big dance seminar on the Tuesday and Wednesday. That's the last seminar that we have before Christmas. And then on the Thursday, we have our a divisional meeting that will take place on that Thursday. By the way, I'm looking at this calendar now. I believe this time is off a little bit. All right, it's 4 to 6:30. That's fine. You guys can keep that there as the time here. By the way, 12/28, for those that didn't know, is the double day, meaning that's the day that the first push ends. It's also the day the second push begins. It's also the last day of the sales year. So for anyone, and this is a quick little resume tip, probably write this down, okay? So just in general, we will have some more resume workshops throughout the year for you guys as we get closer to summer. One big tip for resumes is that, like, and this is why Cutco stands out on a resume versus other jobs, is because companies want to see quantitative results of your performance. Meaning this, and then I see resumes all day long, every single day for multiple different companies when people apply for them. Okay, most resumes suck. They all look the same. They all look like, hey, I worked at this place as my position. I helped do this stuff. I supported this stuff. You know, I worked here. I did this. It's like none of it's like actual real information. It's just like, here's a bunch of random stuff that I kind of did, you know, versus when you can say, hey, generated blank amount in sales, did blank qualified presentations, had an average order of blank, which was blank % above the national average. I created like these are all tangible numbers. One of those things, by the way, top 10 for the campaign, top 10 for the year. So I would ask your managers what the standings are for the top 10 in my office for the fall, and also the top 10 sales reps in my campaign for the year, because that's a big deal, especially when you're in a top performing office. When I can say, hey, I was the number 3 sales rep in the fall campaign a couple months after I started the job, you know, in the number 1, if I'm in Tampa, I'm in the number 1 office, you know, in the company. I was a number 3 rep in the number 1 office for the fall when I started the job, or the year, or the summer. You know, so those standings, anyways, where I'm getting at this is those standings end on the 28th. That's your last day to make a run for them. So for any of you guys that really want to get a resume boost, check where your standings are or where you're at in the office rankings. And that's something that you can kind of make a gunning for here in the last couple weeks of the year. So that's the last day of the year. It also is the last day to push competition. So it counts for the first period and the second period. Technically, by the way, if you just had a massive day on the last day of the year, 12/28, you could sell $6,000 and hit the trip if you just sold $6,000 on one day, and you'd automatically hit the trip if you did that on the 28th there. Or you could sell $4,000 and have 4K in PR credit and hit the trip as well. So these are times for December TLA prep. I'll go ahead and just send this into the group chat so you guys have this on file. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, and then as a reminder, our NLG book is due. So NLG, you guys should already be at chapter 7 by now. We're not going to do a debrief on this one tonight, but we will do a debrief on the December 12th prep, December 11th for you guys. And then the rest of TLA, we have a little bit left, but you should at least be about halfway through the book by now, the 4 agreements. By the way, this was assigned about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and the book's only like 4 hours of audio long. So we've had about a month and a half now to go through 2 hours. So should be on it. Let me give you guys a couple quick tips on rocking the Puerto Rico trip. And then we'll talk about the last few things here before we dive into some of the skill set stuff. So here's the biggest thing about Puerto Rico. And by the way, I want to express this too, because outside of who in here has been on a vector trip before? Cassie has, Jess has. Nope, Cassie, you weren't there, were you? Sorry. Jess has for sure. Audrey was there. Anthony, you've never been on a trip? No, you went to Cancun twice, right? Or once? I don't know if you're trying to mute yourself or something.
No, he is not.
I just did Olean.
Oh, Olean. Okay, so you've never been.
That's like a business trip. That's not a play trip. Just Jess and Audrey.
Mason. And then a bunch of our NLG members who are some of them are wrapped up in meetings.
Hit the trip. The trips are awesome. Once you hit one, you'll never miss it.
And by the way, that is a fact. Literally, when people hit trips, they don't ever admit. Like, it's a very common occurrence. I remember hearing that my first year. Someone's like, "Oh, once you hit one trip, you'll never miss another one," and that was true. I never missed that trip ever. Like, I literally would do anything that it took to make sure that I was on those trips because I knew how fun they were. After my first trip to Cabo, I was still in high school at the time, actually. And it was this trip, by the way, it was the winter break push. It was the first trip that I hit, my first winter break working with Kako. Won a trip to Cabo San Lucas. And yeah, Jamaica last year was tight. I'll just tell you guys what, like, you might have traveled before, you've never traveled vector style. Okay, you may have, it's cool to go on like family vacations. This is another thing to go on like, an all expense, all inclusive work trip that you don't do any work on and you just hang out with good people, and they're always fun. And I would show you videos of if I could. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. All right. Anyways, the trips are baller. We'd love to and here's the deal, okay? Like, as much, I'm going to be on the trip no matter what. Mike's going to be on the trip no matter what. Alex and Eddie will be on the trip no matter what. I know certain people that have hit trips before will be on the trips. I'm not worried about that. But I would like to have as many people from the Florida Coast Heat Division there as possible. I want us to have a Army and a freaking squad. Like, I want us to be able to take a trip on that poolside in Puerto Rico, and like, people are just going to look at that trip and they're like, "Oh, is that the region trip?" It's like, "No, that was the division that we brought." You're like, "That way, that's not the region?" They're like, "No, that's the division." Okay, that's what we want to have when we come to Puerto Rico. I want us to be squatted up, and it's also just gonna be a lot of fun. Also, for a lot of you all, like, I'm just telling you guys, not just the fun element, but like advancement and networking. Like, a lot of people that really helped me in my career, I met on that first trip. A lot of people that really helped me in my career, I connected with a lot more on the second trip, and a lot of you all, like, to be honest, I've been talking to y'all for like 6 months, and some of y'all I've never even met in person, or it's been like a brief glimpse here and there. And the same thing goes around with some of the other power players in this organization, so it's just really a chance to connect and build relationships on another level. And it's nice to actually hang out with people and like not It's not about work. You know, you're not talking about like how much knives are you going to sell this week. You're actually able to connect with them on a little bit deeper level, and doing it in a tropical remote location can always be fun. So we want to have as many of you guys there. Outside of that, by the way, guys, it is a, let me just put it this way. Okay. It is, I remember the reason I hit the trip the first time, by the way, is not because I wanted to hit the trip. It's because I was in high school and I really wanted to become a branch manager, and I knew I was not the top of the standings. That was the reality of why I worked so hard to hit the trip, because I really wanted to go to the trip, but I didn't even really know what I was getting myself into the first time. After I went, I realized. But it was about like, hey, I need to make a statement because I know I'm not the top ranked candidate right now, and I should be. So I'm going to make sure I go out there and make a statement. Easy way to make a statement is hitting the trip. You know, when you hit the trip, I know you did at least something through your PR efforts or through your sales efforts to actually make some moves. And this year, like, I used to understand when people couldn't hit the trip because you have funky school dates. Like some of our schools would get out at the beginning of December and they start classes on like the 3rd or 4th of January. And these used to be the only trip push dates, by the way. So I was like, sometimes when certain reps, like most of the Florida team would still be in school during the push. Okay, this year there's multiple push dates. You can go really big for one. You can go half and half on both and be consistent. You could have a couple blitz days and have a really big day on the 28th. I mean, there's literally 6 weeks and there's so many opportunities to be able to piece it together to hit the trip that, again, there's not really too many excuses that we have anymore. It's easier than it ever was to actually hit this trip. So biggest thing is just making sure that you actually have a game plan. You know, again, if you get 4K PR credit, you could technically, you know, sell $4,000 in the first push, $4,000 in the second push, hit at 50%. If you have 4K PR credit, technically you could sell just, you know, I don't know, 10. I mean, really, if you have 2K PR credit, you could sell 10 grand for one push over 3 weeks and boom, hit at 75% and be done with it. You know, you could hit 25 and 50, 50 and 25, 25 and 25, 75 and 25. There's multiple ways to skin the cat, but the main thing is just make sure you have a plan. Okay, don't rely on your managers to make your plan for you, and make sure you have a plan before Monday. You know, you don't want to go into the push and realize you missed dates. And I'm a firm believer, by the way, that you can have your cake and eat it too. I truly believe that like you can go out there, have a major push performance, hit your goals, get some training in, and also still have a bunch of fun, sleep in a couple days, you know, have some good time, quality time with family and friends. Like you can do all that stuff too and still hit your goals, by the way. And also, by the way, if you can't, like that says something. You know, if you can't like have a life and hit your goals, like that problem's not going anywhere. Okay. And one thing I'll tell you guys right now is that like as you get older, life just gets harder. You only get more responsibilities. Okay. You think you have a lot to worry about now because you have a mom and dad. Wait till you have like a wife or a husband or kids, you know, or like, you know, you're worried about like being a little bit stressed with like your part-time job. Wait till you have a career and they tell you, hey, if you don't get this into me by Friday, you're fired and you're not going to have a paycheck to take care of your family. Then talk to me about like stress, okay, and pressure and balancing a lot on your plate. And then you have like more bills and more payments and more money is more problems, okay? Have a plan going into the break so you have some direction actually ready to rock and roll and use this as a chance to expand your capacity. We will have alliance calls daily, so Monday through Saturday. It's kind of like essentially what's going to happen is the Metro Miami team's really going to take the brunt of the first push, and the second push window, the Tampa team will be leading a little bit in that arena. But those will start. Okay, I am not mandating anybody. I'm not going to mandate that you guys have to be at these every single morning at 8 a.m. I will tell you though, if you're pushing, you should be at them. If you're not pushing, that's okay. If you're not pushing for like a certain period of time, but it's not okay to just not be pushing and not have a plan on when you actually are going to be pushing or when you're going to be taking the next level. So we will start these on Monday. You know, if you have heavy exams Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe you start hopping on them on Thursday. But I would kind of map out which days you're going to hop on the alliances to both support, get some goods, and also just get daily phone time in to kind of help you guys with your sales here too. So a little bit of the Capture the Cup update, just so you guys know, there's 4 weeks left in the rest of the year. Right now, as a region, we have officially lost our lead, okay, as the #1 region in the company. And we're about tied with the Southwest. Now, the Southwest, the reason we lost the lead is because they've been doing about 150 to 200 grand more than us each week for the past couple weeks. And part of that is because we were in Thanksgiving. We finished our push, you know, earlier for the Capture the Cup push. So naturally, we take a little bit of a dip. and they took a little bit of a rise during that time period. But they don't know what we have in store for December. Okay. I'll also just tell you guys this. Okay. So, and I know maybe the region goals are hard for you all to connect with, but one thing that we want to do as a division, I set out a bounty for our district managers about 2 weeks ago that, hey, right now we've done $4.4 million for the year. We're 600 grand away from a $5 million division. By the way, our goal this year was to do $4.5 million. So we're definitely going to surpass that goal. The division last year did $3.2 million. So we have a 92% growth in total business and almost 146% growth in new business sales this year. But we want to finish it off strong with a bang. And we put out a bounty to do 600 grand. What that looks like, by the way, 200 grand from the Tampa team, 200 grand from the Miami team, and 100 grand respectively from both the Sarasota and Clearwater team. If we do this, by the way, I got to imagine we're going to have a pretty damn good opportunity and shot as a region. Like, this is our contribution to the region. This is the way that we step up and finish strong for the push. We got 4 weeks, so we'll really need all hands on deck in order to make this possible and make this happen here. So that's a little bit of update on the Capture the Cup and where we are actually at. Last thing that I want to take a little bit of time to just go over before we dive into a little bit of a discussion here and some fundamentals review is social media D-Day. So, we spent probably, 3, 4, 5 weeks talking about guerrilla marketing, how to do marketing on a mass scale, and how to use your network. Your network is your net worth, and how to set this up. Now it's actually execution time. So as all of you all know, this social media D-Day is happening this upcoming Saturday. So in Saturday in our Gunner group chat, that social media updates chat, we are going to go, that was the Gunner chat beforehand. We're going to blow it up with all of our social media updates and chats. Now, this one is not you posting on social media. A lot of y'all post on social media all the time. That's great. And you should still post on social media. But the purpose of this exercise is to help enroll others to help you with your social media efforts. Okay. And this is not a Cutco skill, although this is good to have as a Cutco skill. This is just like, I've done this for like a bunch of businesses. Literally, I just got on a call with somebody else that runs a business in Asheville earlier today, completely unrelated, but they were asking about some affiliate structures and some marketing. And I was literally walking them through basically a social media D-Day and how to execute it and how to set it up. And the most important thing is their ability to reach out to their network's net worth and be able to do that. So this is a good kind of test run at what you guys will eventually do as branches. But you want to be seeking out how many people, by the way, for the record, easy way to get PRs. If I know Joey, right, and I've already recommended him the job, but Joey doesn't want to work, but Joey posts up on his social media, okay, and someone else recommends Joey, or one of Joey's friends applies in the application, guess what? That's a PR of mine, unless they're coming from someone else on the team. But if Joey doesn't work in our office, then his friends are going to become my PRs, So this is going to help you guys out in the process as well. You've got to set this up now, though. You cannot wait till Saturday to start texting people. Okay, Saturday, all you should have to do is you have a list of people already, and you just send the post and confirm that they post. That's all you're doing on Saturday. Leading up to is when you actually want to get people confirmed. So if you want to get 10 people to post, you probably got to reach out to 20. I'd say it's about 2 to 1. Every other person that you reach out to will probably actually follow through with it. 70% will probably tell you they'll help you out, but probably 50% will actually end up helping you out on Saturday when it comes around. Some people will just forget or not respond. So here's a quick little text that you all can use to help enroll some of your friends into doing this. And I'll go ahead and copy and paste this into the group chat here. Okay, so I would star this message. But you can basically say, hey, Anthony, hope you're doing well, man. I want to reach out because I just got a promotion opportunity at my job that I've been working at since earlier this May. And part of it involves my ability to execute with social media. So we're doing a massive social media blitz this upcoming Saturday to bring some awareness to some opportunities we have over the break. I was reaching out to a couple of my friends for some support and want to see if you could help me out on Saturday by sharing a post to your story or Snapchat. If you're down to help, I can send you a post and it will only take a few seconds to do this on Saturday. You'd be helping me a ton. Let me know if you're down. So that's a little quick text message that I created for you guys. You can divvy it up, change it a little bit. If you're one quick key is like, if you're really close with them, don't send them the copy and paste text. Format it a little bit more to like the way that you actually usually text that person. And then everybody else, you could probably do a little copy and paste and get it out to people. And I would just make a list. Don't necessarily think about people that need jobs. Just think about people that you're cool with, that you have a relationship with, and that you think would be open to sharing something on social media. Obviously, targeting helps with this too. If you know someone that has a bigger social media profile, this helps as well to be able to do that. This is one of those things where you can only, like, you can't ask your friends to post them on social media for you every single week. They won't do that. Okay. But asking someone every, once in a while, once a year, once every 6 months to help you out a little bit shouldn't be too hard of a problem. And by the way, if you really have like struggle to find 5 to 10 people that would be okay posting something on Instagram for 24 hours, you might want to expand your network a little bit and get some more friends. So I'll leave you at that. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and send this out to you all into the group chat right now. So if you guys look at in 3, let's see here. Whoops. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go ahead and send this. And district managers, I'll review this tomorrow on our DM call, but I will have you all facilitate this assignment collection just to facilitate with your team specifically. But I sent the document here. If you click that, this is going to be due on Friday at 12 p.m. So we've already been talking about this, by the way, for a month. So you should already kind of have a good idea of who you're going to be reaching out to. But essentially, if you guys look at, I'll just share the whole screen. If you look at that document and sheet that I sent in, we just created this for you guys to make it a little bit easier for you all to use. So you can have a spreadsheet where you can kind of write down who you're thinking about. Okay, that's what's due by Friday. And you want to just go ahead and make sure that you text them by Friday. Probably when you put them on the list, I would just shoot them a text. And then on Saturday, when it comes in, you can go through, once you send them each the post, you would go through and edit it, and then you would verify it this as well. So take care of a little bit of time to do that. Send that to your managers by Friday so they can help support a little bit and facilitate. And we will have an awesome social media D-Day. Any questions at all on social media D-Day or execution? Cool. I'd also like to get maybe any best practices from NLG members or anyone that's done a really good job with social media D-Day beforehand, and just some things that helped you to set it up or execute or planning beforehand or the day of.
I mean, I could just kind of go off of what you just said. This is extremely simple. Takes a couple minutes just to scroll through. Like what I did last year is just scroll through my following on Instagram and message anyone who I've had contact with at some point in my life. And just, it's so simple. Like just asking them, hey, would you mind putting this up? It would really help me out.
Yep. That's what I always like to do too. I mean, like one thing you can do is just go through 2 things. Just go through your Instagram DMs or just go through your text messages. That's why I'm like, when people like can't think about anyone to like reach out to, it's like, do you not talk to anybody ever? Like, I'm like, just go to your messages and just scroll down. Like, who are the people you had conversations with in the past week? The conversation is already fresh with that person. Be like, oh, hey, by the way, I just, I was wondering if you could help me out with something too, since we were talking. Shoot him a quick message. So, Jess, want to chime in? Thanks, Audrey.
Yeah, I was just going to say I went through my entire contact list, went through all my following on all my social media platforms. And then I also enrolled my sister to post and then messaged some of her friends to post for me as well. And then I had a couple people who I helped in other like PRs I had, but they started in other offices. And so I had them post too and message their friends too. And pretty much just enrolling like the closest people to you on what you're doing, your mission, what you're trying to build. And everyone will be more than glad to just throw up a post if that's the way that they can help you out. And then just say like, hey, if you know anyone that could throw this up, it would really help me out. Just make sure they tag me.
Yep. And I would have them tag you in them so you can actually verify that it got posted, by the way. And that way you can kind of get some messages as well. And then also tag your office Instagram or whatever if you guys have one of those as well. Jess, wait, so this is how you got recruited last year, was our social media D-Day, and you got a message from one of Audrey's friends or something like that?
No, actually. So Audrey, she doesn't even know this girl. I think she just messaged her and she posted something on her Instagram, and I was looking for a job. I had just moved alone to Tampa and I saw this random girl's post who tagged Audrey. I went to Audrey's Instagram bio, filled out the Google form, and that's why I'm here.
Nice. So 1 year ago today, this was executed. So, if the whole division, if we get another Jessica Shane in the division, I'll say it was executed fairly well. So let's get ready to rock and roll social media D-Day and start sending out those messages today, tomorrow. So you guys are up to date and in the loop with things here. All right. 4 agreements. We're only going to spend 5 to 10 minutes on this, but I want to spend a little bit of time debriefing. This is the first, I think, business book I ever read. When I first, literally it's going into my senior year of high school. I read, this was the first TLA book that was assigned to us. And I remember it was Jeff Gamboa was my division manager at the time. And I remember just kind of going through this. And well, actually, just before I even go over them, who can tell me give me the 4 agreements. What's the first one? Or just, they don't have to be in order. Just give me one of them.
Be impeccable with your word.
Yeah, be impeccable with your word. Someone else give me a second one.
Don't take anything personally.
Don't take things personally. Third thing.
Don't make assumptions.
Don't assume.
Always do your best.
Always do your best. Don't assume. Be impeccable with your words. Always do your best and don't take things personally. And as I say this to you guys, it's funny because at the time, I don't know, when I read the book, I really didn't think I was like, all right, that's a good book. I don't really think it impacted me in any way that much or that significant of a way. But even as I say those out loud right now, those are all every single one of those things are pretty core parts of my life at this point. I don't know if it was specifically when I read that book or if it just happens to be the same, if it was the book itself that did it. But those are things that I think about hey, what was important to me and just my core values and how I live my life. If someone was going to interview me today, what I think is important, most of them fall into one of those 4 things. And that's typically, I think if you've been working with me for a while, you've heard a lot of those over and over and over again. So let's debrief. Let's talk about the first one. Okay. Be impeccable with your word. And by the way, is that the first one in order? I don't have the chapters in front of me. Is that the first one? Okay. Cool. So let's start there. What are some takeaways or some debriefs from the first agreement, or also the intro in general, if you had something powerful there?
I guess I'll take a swing at the intro. Was really impactful for me. It just gave me, it's something I've always thought, but I guess I'm gonna put it into words. Essentially was that at a young age, I felt that's when you're most influenced. And I think, it's obvious, but a lot of times people don't really see it. And I think something kind of off topic, but what it made me realize was that a lot of times you can't really blame people for the decisions they make when they're younger. I feel a lot of times it's actually how they're raised. And I think, people aren't usually evil at heart. I think it's how you're kind of raised thing. And I think people just, being aware of how you're influencing people at all times, I think it helped me because I have a little brother and sister, just realize the little things that I do and the little things that I say to them can really impact how they're being raised and how they're growing up. And so I'm trying to make it seem more, so they feel more empowered and they feel just better overall. And I think the books kind of helped me with that. And I think something that this book should be advertised to is parents. I think I think parents really need to read this book, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot of books, Tyler, that parents should probably read in our society and culture right now. But yeah, I'd agree. It's typically one of them. And yeah, by the way, I like what you mentioned too about people are nurture and nature, right? There's a certain element of who people are, and there's a lot of elements of the environments and conditions and things that you were around. That's why I'm really grateful for Cutco and Vector because yes, I have gotten to a great place in my life for my age where I'm at, but I've also gotten there because I had access to mentors and people that really helped guide me and shape me through that process. And I've got a younger brother. I've got other people in my life that, are and have now gone through the years. And it's just, they just didn't necessarily have access to the same, resources and mentorship and guidance that I had too as well. So thanks for chiming in there. Let's go to the first agreement, takeaways, or Rochelle, you want to chime in?
Yes. Whoa. So this was definitely my favorite chapter. It really hit home with me. One thing is just really like taking responsibility for what you say to people. You're definitely like always responsible, not only for the energy that you bring, but like what you're saying to them. I love that it compared it to like black magic, because it's said like it's the most powerful tool that even exists, and what you say to people, that really does stick with them. I remember we read something else that says like compliments, like that really sticks with people, and that can drive people to always be their best. And I think it's important just to know like it works the opposite way too. And then I loved when it touched on like gossiping about people, because I feel like a lot of society in today, it is based on gossiping. So just having like the awareness of it, I've been able, like if I'm in a conversation with somebody, I'll just like kind of like steer the direction of a different way, because I don't want to like put anything on somebody else like that.
Yeah, thank you for chiming in. I had a couple thoughts. Anyone else want to share on being impeccable with your word? Deanna?
I liked how it defined impeccable as without sin, and then it defined a sin as anything that you do, feel, or say that goes against yourself. Because like it said that words can create fear or magic, and usually we create fear with our words instead of magic. Like we say bad things about ourselves, which I do that. I'm guilty of that. But like if you use the words in a different way and build yourself up, then I definitely think it's more powerful, and I have to like remember to do that instead of the opposite.
Yeah, 100%. And so I like that you guys are hitting that too, because being impeccable with your word is not just being impeccable with what you say out loud to other people. It's also with the words that you say to yourself inside your own head, and it's like mastering that self-talk game. By the way, every single person that you look up to and respect to, or have respect for, and you think has it all made, they all do the same stuff that you guys do in your head, which is like when they get alone, like you think they've made it and they're uber successful, and that person leaves that massive stage or whatever, and they go back home, and they're like, damn, I'm a phony, I suck, blah, blah. Like everybody has those negative thoughts that go through their head. But, to that point, I think someone heard, I heard it maybe in a podcast or something like that one time. And it's like, there's certain things that like, if someone said the things that you say to yourself in your own head to like someone in your family, like you would have knocked them out. Like if someone said that stuff to like your mom or your brother, you'd be like, what the hell you just say? But if you say it to yourself, it's like, oh, it's okay. But you'll say the same stuff in your own head to yourself all day. Right. So part of that is being impeccable with your word with yourself. And by the way, like I genuinely believe this is at the heart of a lot of the mental problems that we have in our society today, and anxiety and depression, a lot of things that happen when people are not motivated, when people get depressed, when people have, just don't feel good about themselves. It's usually because there's a lack of trust that they have with their own selves. And that lack of trust comes from the fact that they desire one thing, but they tell themselves one thing, but they do other things. They say, hey, I want to go to the gym, but then they don't go to the gym. I should do this, but I don't. And it's really just getting to a place where like, even silence and meditation, like that can be impeccable with your word. It's just speaking with integrity with your word. Because once you start to develop trust with yourself, you'll build up more confidence, and you'll have more confidence in yourself, your ability to execute things, and you'll believe what you say when you say it, because you've have a history of actions. And like, hey, if I say it, like that's one thing that like I took to heart when I read this book, is like, I don't tell people things unless like I am 100% confident I'm going to get them done. And also when I say, hey, I'm going to do something, like, and I know like it's going to get done. You can count on me to get it done, because I want to follow through with that. And also if I'm like, I'm not really sure if I'm gonna get that done, I don't say it. I won't agree to it. I'm like, I'd like to, but like, I just don't know if I can actually confidently, say that. I like, I'm looking at Mike right now on this call. He's someone that does that all the time. Like, when I count on something, he's like, I'm going to get done. And also like, Mike is very careful about like, hey, I don't even want to like agree to that because I don't want to break the trust that I have myself and say I'm going to get done when I'm not really feeling like I'm actually going to follow through with that right now. And rather having a conversation about it ahead of time versus breaking that trust, with yourself here too. So, cool. We got 10 minutes left. We'll continue to debrief that a little bit more on the next call, the next prep. What I'd like to take 10 minutes to do is we're going to spend a little bit more time going over some fundamental review. So I'm going to put you all into some breakout rooms right now. And this goes back to my conversation a couple weeks ago, which is really becoming a student of the business. Okay, a student of the business. So, and here's what I want to ask you. Raise your hand if you know the recommendation approach. I really hope everyone's raising their hand for this one. Okay, if you know the recommendation approach, cool. Raise your hand if you would say that you do keep your hand raised if you think you do the recommendation approach right on the majority of your appointments. Okay, now everyone don't move your hand. Everyone keep your hands up if you were holding it up. Now, okay, keep your hand up so this is, I asked you guys if you do the recommendation approach right. So this is why I'm curious to know what your version of right is and what my version of right is. Keep your hand up if on the floor recommendation approach, every demo that you do, you always do all 5 steps of the recommendation approach, which includes asking for recs, asking again, qualifying them, getting them texted, and having the customer post on Facebook. Keep your hand raised. All right, a lot of those hands went down. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about like, hey, really sinking into best practices. And by the way, if you're a brand new rep, it's okay if like you just started the job a couple weeks ago and like you're just doing the very basic version of the recommendation approach. Like, I just want you to be able to get 10 recs first. That's like square one. But like, guys, if you're going to teach people how to get recommendations next summer, if you're going to be in a leadership role, if you're going to get like, if you say, hey, I know how to get recommendations, if you're not getting 10 to 20, if you're not getting Facebook posts up, if you're not getting them texted ahead of time, like you're still doing recommendations the way we taught reps their first day on the job, the first week. You still haven't elevated into like just a good sales rep level of recommendations, or eventually there's like the CSP level of like getting recommendations, but like you want to be a student of the business. Don't just like say, hey, no, I know how to do that, when it's like, well, I know how to like do it enough to get by. But do I know the best way how to do it? And do I actually do that every single time? So I'm going to give you all about 4 minutes here. I'm going to put you all in some breakout rooms, and you guys are going to get a chance to go through the Florida recommendation approach. And I want you to actually practice sending the conversation that you have when you send the text, practice qualifying your recommendations. If you don't have your sheet set up, maybe set that up. Practice the approach for asking customers to post on Facebook, and make sure you actually have all 5 steps and you're consistently doing that on each and every single presentation. So you guys got about 4 minutes, and I'll call on a couple people and look at your Google Sheets and maybe have you do a couple parts of it. All right, I will see you all in a second. Welcome back. Welcome
I'm a tough critic.
Did you just change Mike?
Like your sweater.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and all right, I'm gonna do a little pop quiz here. Okay, Seabass, I want you just got 10 recommendations from me, and then you pass it back to me, and I just gave you another 10. So now you got 20 recommendations. Okay, now what do you do from here? Go.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Jones, for the 20 recommendations. You just kept me to my double sponsor. And like I said earlier, in the sponsorship program, you're helping me get that $150 of Cutco stuff that I am trying to get for myself and for my family. Now, again, thank you so much for hitting me to that. Is there any way we can get maybe 5, 10 more?
All right. You've already gotten all the recs you're going to get from me. Great. Now what's next?
All right. Well, again, thank you so much. And by any chance, do you have Facebook?
I do have a Facebook.
All right. Can you actually give me your Facebook account? I'm going to jot it down real quick.
All right. So I'm going to hold off on that one real quickly. So you don't want to hop to Facebook right away. So the third step is what I was getting to is qualify your recommendations. Okay. And again, I'm bringing this stuff up, guys, because I've had too many conversations with people in TLA that have told me I'm really working on my attack list for the winter breaks, so I can get up to at least like 50 to 100 people. And I'm like, how how do you not have Rex to call? And I'll just tell you guys this, the Rex is the key to the game. Amy Rad, 100K one summer, 100K next summer, or never had an order over $2,000. She had 500 recommendations after a month and a half of doing the job. This is what we call, guys, we teach you to go back to mom and dad because it can help and get more names and numbers from them. But if you have to go back to mom and dad every 3 weeks on the job to get more people to see, you're not really running a business. You're hoping mom and dad can help give you free orders. That's not that's not building a sustainable sales business. That's not Cutco through college and building a track where you can make significant income for yourself for the next 2 to 3 years in college and beyond. You're just breaking mom and dad to get some freebie orders. Okay. Which is good. You can use that to your resources, but build a sustainable long-term business. If I'm under 100 recommendations, get out of that window and never go back. I never ever as a sales rep had less than 200 recommendations at any point in time. I even lost 400 recommendations and still had a couple hundred recommendations sitting in a folder organized for myself. Get off the tee. That's a good example, but all right. So let me go. We're already at 6 o'clock. Here's what I'm just going to land with this. I'm going to quiz you all again on this next week. I would recommend, if you can't show me that you have a rec sheet, okay, that actually has real social proof, where you can just say, hey, Miss Jones, let me go ahead and find your sheet. Hold on 1 second. All right, boom, here you go, Miss Jones. Who's the first person you're putting on? If you're one of I don't use this sheet, I just have them write it down on paper. If you can't show me that and walk through the 5 steps of asking again, qualifying your recommendations, too many people I hear, oh, I'm in a bad circle again. And I'm like, well, how are you in a bad circle? Well, I just got a bunch of recs and they ended up not being good. I don't have any good ones anymore. I'm like, well, how did you get bad recs? Like, oh, I should probably start qualifying them. And it's like, don't build sustainable habits. Don't be like, well, I qualified them for a week and then I just went and stopped qualifying them again. Stop doing that stuff. Build sustainable habits to build to your business is always growing. It should always be expanding, never contracting. If it's contracting, there's something missing in your process. Okay. So just making sure you're actually qualifying, who likes to cook, who's nice, who has money, who has a big family, and you can use those to your advantage. So we'll wrap up with that today. Get your systems, get your fundamentals into check where you feel really confident, being able to coach and lead somebody else through the process because you're doing the best practices here with it. Have an awesome phone jam. Have an awesome team meeting, ladies and gents. Talk to y'all soon. See ya.